Hello and welcome to Precon Decon, the video series where I deconstruct the pre-constructed decks of Magic the Gathering's history. In this video we are continuing our look at the Odyssey pre-constructed decks, and we are looking at Pressure Cooker, which is a black and red deck. So let's look at the deck list. So we have 18 creatures, 8 sorceries, 2 artifacts, 8 instants, 24 land. We have a mana curve off to the side there. One thing you might notice is that it starts off, there's a lot of cheap things, and then it dips a bit, and then it really explodes when it hits like 4 mana value. So yeah, I'm just wondering how this would have played in real life, but we'll see. Let's have a look at the cards. So up front and center, let's just get this out of the way. So Braids Cabal Minion is one of the rares of the deck. Braids is quite a notorious card. I think it's actually might still be banned in Commander. I don't know. I don't really. I know it was banned for sure at one point in Commander. I mean, I don't know if it still is, but yeah. Just because Braids is pretty horrible to deal with. So it's 4 mana for a 2/2. At the beginning of each player's upkeep, they have to sacrifice an artifact, creature, or land. It's just super mean. Very oppressive to deal with, which is a theme of the deck. Is just putting a lot of, well, it's called Pressure Cooker. You're putting a lot of kind of, it's an attrition. This game, it is all about just grinding your opponent down, and Braids is definitely a part of that strategy. I mean, it is a symmetrical effect. The thing is, like, if you ever get tired of sacrificing stuff to Braids, you can just sacrifice her to herself. And you're fine then. So yeah, so we have Braids. So we have 2 Childhood Horrors, 4 mana for a 2/2 fly, which is expensive. But when you hit Threshold, which is when you have 7 or more cards in your graveyard, it's big. It's a theme mechanic of Odyssey block. When you have Threshold, it has +2/+2, and it can't block, so it becomes quite a scary threat in the air then, at the expense of not being able to block. Which is a theme of these black horrors and nightmare creatures that are in the set. A lot of them usually can't block. We have a single Crypt Creeper, 2 mana for a 2/1. You can sacrifice them to exile a card in a graveyard. Kind of significant actually, because I know this got reprinted in Innistrad. Fairly significant because you're playing in a in a format where there's cards with flashback, and also where thresholds can make a difference. So if this is if sacrificing this thing stops your opponent using a flashback spell, or if it knocks them off threshold, it's definitely worth doing. We have a Face of Fear, who's 6 mana for a 3/4, which is it's just so expensive and so bad. It has an ability where you can pay 2 and a black, discard a card. Face of Fear can't be blocked this day. It gains fear until end of turn. Yeah, super bad. Just super expensive and bad, honestly. If this gave your whole board fear until end of turn, then then we'd be talking about it. But yeah, 6 mana just for a 3/4. And then that really expensive ability, yeah, just not very good at all. That would have been one of the first cards I ripped out. So we have a Fright Crawler. I'm just going to say, this has some of my favourite art in all of Magic the Gathering. I love the art on Fright Crawler. Super, super creepy, super cool. But it's an okay card, it's nothing worse than when like a bad card gets good art, But this one's okay, I think. 2 mana for 1 with Fear, and when you hit Threshold, it has +2/+2, and it can't block. So not wonderful, but at least it's evasive off the. You're not paying 3 mana and discarding a card to make it evasive. It's just evasive by nature. So yeah. Fright Crawler's okay. 2 Famished Ghouls, 4 mana for a 3/2. Play 1 card in a black, sacrifice it, exile 2 cards in a graveyard from a game. From the game. You don't need to say that if I'm saying exile. This is the thing where I'm trying to say it like the modern Oracle text and also reading it off the screen, but you get the point. You exile 2 cards. So it's kind of a grown-up Crypt Creeper. Everything I said there applies here. If you get rid of flashback cards or knock someone off threshold, it's worth doing. So the other rare in the deck is Repentant Vampire. Um, funny little trivia about this card is that it's so this set came out at the height of kind of like Buffy the Vampire Slayer. So this card is meant to represent Angel, who's the vampire in that, and the white card Gallantry, also in the set, has like a Buffy-esque character, like kicking a zombie or a vampire in the head, whatever, and it's a single art piece split across the two cards, so it's a fun little bit of trivia. Anyway, so this is like an old school vampire before like they became kind of like the main black humanoid race. So this was when all vampires had flying. They were all expensive. They all had the ability of, or they didn't all have the ability, but he has the kind of Sengir vampire ability of, if a creature he damaged dies, he gets a counter. But when you hit threshold, he becomes a white creature, and he has tap destroy target black creature, which is pretty interesting, just because this is a point in the game's history where most removal spells can't target black creatures. So having something that could kind of break a mirror match against another black deck would have been pretty interesting. But yeah, aside from that, he's still like a flying evasive creature, so he's pretty good. Then we have some red creatures. So Barbarian Lunatic is 3 mana for a 2/1, which is a tragic cost to power and toughness ratio. You can pay 2 colors and a red, sacrifice him, he does 2 damage to a creature. Everything about him is just kind of like one number off. Like if he was a 2/2, or if he was 1 color, 1 red, or his ability was slightly cheaper, his numbers need tweaking just a little bit. As the moment, he's kind of subpar. Chain Flinger, 4 mana for a 2/2 beast, 1 cast and a red, tap, does 1 damage to a creature or player, so it's kind of an expensive Tim. But this marks the point where red is starting to get ping abilities now. There's still a few blue cards, I think, that still get it in this set, but red is starting to get it more often now on creatures. It's happening, the change is happening. If you've been watching my videos for a while, you might know that every time I see a blue creature with a ping ability, I have to say just how weird it is. But now it's happening. The change is happening. So when it hits threshold, then it can do 2 damage to a creature or player, which is, that's pretty strong, actually. Just have a reliable 2 indirect damage going on all the time there. We have a single Dwarven Strike Force, 5 mana for 4/3, which is pretty garbage. And its ability is also garbage. You discard a card at random because it's red. It's got to be random discard when it's red. That makes it red, Gets first strike and haste until end of turn. Getting first strike and haste is fairly strong, but not at the cost of a random discard. That's awful, honestly. I'd rather it would just pay some mana and discard a card like you choose. Yeah, not a fan of Dwarven Strike Force. And then we have Halberdier. I always thought it was so weird. This card is just called Halberdier. It doesn't have like a fun fantasy name like Flame Blade Halberdier or whatever. Just weird. He's just called Halberdier. 4 mana for a 3/1 first strike. Kind of fragile, but 3/1 first strike. 3 power and first strike is fairly scary to deal with, I think. And the last creature is Pardic Firecat, which is 4 mana for a 2/3 haste. If it is in the graveyard, Flame Burst's effect, count it as a Flame Burst. What is Flame Burst, you ask? Why? Flame Burst is a 2 mana instant where it does 2 damage to a creature or player, plus an extra 1 damage for every Flame Burst in all graveyards. So these bursts are a cycle in the set. There's one in each color, and they're kind of like Kindle from Tempest in that they start off kind of weak, but the more of them that are in graveyards, all graveyards, not just your graveyard, the stronger they get. So even if your opponent's not playing them, I really like that Pardic Firecat has this ability. The green one has a similar thing. So the green burst there's a green creature where if it's in a graveyard, it counts as that one as well. It's the only 2 colors that did it, which is weird. It feels like an incomplete cycle. But yeah, I really like Pardic Firecat just because it's so weird that it's connected to Flame Burst. I just really like it. And Flame Burst is obviously a pretty good card as well, because Kindle was a pretty good card. And this is technically better than Kindle, just because it combos with Pardic Firecat. 2 Firebolts. This is a pretty good flashback spell, just 2 damage to a creature or player, and you flash it back for 5. It's fine. Thermal Blast is I was going to say it's a little bad. No, Thermal Blast is terrible. It's 5 mana to do 3 damage only to creatures, and if you have Threshold, it does 5 damage instead. So Threshold makes it... I mean, like, it's better with Threshold, but it's still bad with Threshold. Yeah, that's a card, again, would have taken out completely. 2 Engulfing Flames, just 1 red mana, does 1 damage to a creature, which can't be regenerated, and you can flash it back. Liquid Fire is a weird one. So 6 mana sorcery, does 5 damage divided as you choose between type creature and the creature's controller. So that's what the card says. The Oracle text is very, very different. If you've got time, go and look at the Oracle text for Liquid Fire. It's super weird. There is a good reason, I think, why they changed it. There is like a design update out there or something that explains why they changed it. But if you've got time, check out the Oracle text for Liquid Fire. It's so weird. As for the card, I think it's a little expensive. What it does, like 6 mana, is, it's just to split up 5 damage between a creature and a controller is just not great. And a single Reckless Charge, sorcery speed, 1 red mana, +3/+0, and haste until end turn. I think that's pretty good. And then you can flash it back as well. Yeah, for 1 red, I think that's a pretty good pump spell. Then we have some, just to round off some black spells here. So Ghastly Demise, this is okay, I think. So 1 black mana, so super cheap and instant. Destroy a non-black creature if its toughness is less than or equal the number of cards in your graveyard. So potentially you get some really good value out of this by paying a single black mana. If like you've got a really stacked graveyard, that could be really good. Innocent Blood. Every player sacrifices a creature. Very elegant card. 1 mana. Can't complain. Innocent Blood is great, I think. I think it's a really good card, especially like, in multiplayer as well. Just make everyone sacrifice a creature for 1 black mana is so strong. Morbid Hunger is not so great though. This is very expensive. 6 mana to do 3 damage to a creature or player, and you get 3 life, and the flashback is 9. It's not a very good card. It's so expensive for what it does. Yeah, not worth it in my opinion. And then Morgue Theft. This is basically just Raise Dead with flashback, which is, it's a simple effect. It's not exciting, but it's useful, definitely. And also, I really like that art on Morgue Theft. So a lot of good art in Odyssey block, honestly. Like on Innocent Blood. Well, it's Carl Critchlow, that's a given, isn't it? Yeah, but a lot of this. I feel like a slight tangent here. Odyssey kind of marks the point where Magic Gathering art starts getting really, really good, like consistency really good. Because before this, like the art's, there's some art which is like okay, some's a bit goofy. I feel like Odyssey is when it starts becoming consistently very good. And then we just have some an artifact here and some non-basic land. So Shadow Blood Egg, 1 mana, 2 tap, sacrifice it, add black and red, and then draw a card. So it just filters your mana. It's not giving you any mana, but it does draw you a card, so that's okay. We have Cabal Pit, 2 of these actually, which is a weird choice for a non-basic land. It gives you black, but it does damage to you when you use it for mana. But when you hit Threshold, which is when you have 7 cards in your graveyard, you can go 1 black, tap, sacrifice it, and a creature gets -2/-2 till end of turn. So it's really good that a land can serve as a removal spell. That's really good. And then we have Bog Wreckage and Ravage Highlands. These are basically the same card. They come in play tapped. They give you mana of a certain colour, and you can tap and sacrifice them to give you 1 mana of any colour. Which is, it's fine, because, after you sacrifice them, they go in your graveyard, and that pumps up your threshold and your other effects that care about having a big graveyard. So it could have been. Overall, I think the deck's kind of okay. There's a lot of removal in it, as you'd expect in black-red. It is a real kind of attrition deck, like really grinding opponent down and just making them, just kind of removing all their options, really. But I think a Barbarian Ring could have been fun instead of one of the Cabal Pits, like have a Cabal Pit and this. So Barbarian Ring gives you red mana, but it does damage to you. When you have Threshold, you can tap it and sacrifice it, and it does 2 damage to a creature or player. Again, just a non-basic land serving as a removal spell is really good. Patriarch's Desire is one of these cards we see a lot in black, where it's quite expensive. I'm not, not denying that, but it can serve as kind of like a, as a pump spell or a removal spell. If you put it on one of your creatures that can survive the toughness drop, fine. You've got a big creature, put it on an opponent's creature, and it reduces their toughness and kills them. It's fine. And when you hit threshold, like the bonus and the debuff gets bigger, so that could have been in here. Stalking Bloodsucker. This is. So I thought this could be a potential rare instead of Braids, just because Braids is super unfun, and it is like weird. They have a legendary creature as one of the rares. They didn't normally do that. It was kind of surprising when they did. But yeah, Stalking Bloodsucker I think is. Oh, this could have been instead of Repentant Vampire as well. But in any case, I think this guy's fine. Like 6 mana for a 4/4 flyer is okay. One black. One card's on a black, discard a card, gets +2/+2 on the turn. I think that's okay. Or if you want to go really super dumb, just have Vampiric Dragon, because it's a big vampire dragon. It's 8 mana. It's 5/5 flyer. Has the old school vampire ability where if it kills something, it's a +1/+1 counter, and you can pay a card to the red, and it deals 1 damage to target creature. Just a big dumb. It's kind of a card that, if you're a new player and you open it, it's like, whoa, it's a vampire dragon. That's the coolest thing ever. And it is. A vampiric dragon is very cool. So in summary, I think this one's all right. Again, I think I don't have any particular strong feelings of it. I think it's a little stronger than the other two I've looked at so far, just because it's black-red. It has a lot of removal. So you just grind out kind of a long game. You hit threshold, and then all your kind of like horrors and nightmare creatures then get stronger or more evasive. So yeah, I think this one's okay. I would have been all right using this one. But what about you? What do you think after seeing the deck list? Did you have this deck? Did you play with it? Did you make any changes to it? Stick a comment below telling me all about it. But until then, I will be back next time. I will be looking at the last of the Odyssey pre-constructed decks. So until then, thank you for watching and listening, and have a good day.